Hey, it's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a governor and we've got a congressman waiting for you today. Also, we've got some great news out of the CDC that we're going to get a chance to visit with you about, and, well, a little ransom that got paid. So I want to touch upon that today, too, as we go down the road. But I don't want to leave them waiting. So let's head to D.C. and visit with United States Congressman Kelly Armstrong from the great state of North Dakota. Congressman, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thanks for having me on, Joel.
It's Friday. You're supposed to be in a plane. You're supposed to be going home.
Yeah, we have Friday votes. We have Monday votes. I agreed to do, I have some meetings Monday morning, so we get to go home next week, Thursday, so I get to see my kids and maybe catch some baseball and some softball, but we're going to hang out here this weekend.
Oh, that's cool. Everybody thinks you guys don't work. There, we proved you do. Want to get a chance to talk to you about a number of things. Obviously, the Dakota Access Pipeline, what we saw with the blackmail that had happened on the southern end of our country in relation to moving oil and gas. Want to talk to you about some infrastructure as well, but you knew I was going to ask you this first. You've got a caucus member, number 3 in line, or former number 3 in line in your caucus on the Republican side in Liz Cheney. How did you vote when it came to removing her as a member of your leadership?
I voted to remove her.
And why?
Well, and so I've done this twice now, right? We had one earlier, and I looked at somebody in the meeting, and I said, this was the first one. And I said, in 18 months, if you're running for re-election based on who the conference chair is, you're not doing it right. You're doing it wrong. But then the flip side to that is we go on our retreat, we get out there, we're talking about taking back the House, which I think is incredibly important, particularly when you're seeing gas lines, a border crisis, all of these things. And every single member of Congress goes back to their home district, and the first question they get, not from the national media, but from their local media, is the drama surrounding the conference chair. And to me, that means you're doing that job wrong, too.
But the drama, well, let me ask this quick one first. The second vote, the vote that you voted the first time on removing her.
Well, the first time I voted to keep her. The second time I voted to remove her.
Well, that was my question. I wanted to find out how you voted the first time. You're talking about the drama of removing her. The big question, of course, is that she wouldn't accept that the president hadn't played a role in the insurrection and what happened on January 6th. Do you agree with her or don't you agree with her?
Do I agree that the president had a role? I've said yes. I've said that there were things that were said that have been done, and we obviously have to do it. Actually, we just announced today they've finally come to a deal on a bipartisan commission on how they're going to deal with January 6th, so that's good news.
Is there going to be an investigation? Is there going to be a committee that looks over all of it, or how's it going?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this started, and Speaker Pelosi wanted to set it up like a 9/11 commission, except the 9/11 commission was truly bipartisan, and then when this was set up, it was very much weighted towards Democrats. But just today, John Katko and I will forget the Democrat's name, the Homeland Security counterparts, came to an agreement today, and it sounds like we have a deal where we're going to move forward on a January 6th commission.
Is that a commission that you'd be willing to serve on?
Well, maybe. I'm on 3 committees already. We'll see who they ask and how they do it. Yeah, I mean, I'm always willing to do those things. I have background in some of this. You know that. I was a criminal defense attorney for 10 years, and I think sometimes, I hope at least people recognize that I try and take politics out of some of these decisions once in a while and actually look at the facts and how we got there.
Well, take this as the compliment it's meant to be. I do believe that about you. When it comes to what Liz Cheney said that ticked everybody off, it was that she didn't.
I just want to be like what she said that maybe ticked me off versus other people is different.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. But what clearly made the media out there was that she believes that the election wasn't stolen. So I have to ask you this. It's one thing to say there's questions. It's another thing to say, well, you know what? We got to move on. The election is over, and Joe Biden won the election. Saying all those things is really a deflect. Really what she did was stuck her neck out and said the election was stolen. So I'm going to ask you, was the election stolen?
No. I mean, I've seen no evidence. I've read there's 63, 64 cases that exist across all different spectrums, state court, federal court. If the election was stolen, nobody has been able to put a case together and present it in any form of evidence. So no, I have seen nothing to dictate that. Okay. I have a lot of concerns with some of how some laws were changed in elections through the pandemic and other than that. And I think those are real valid concerns. But I have not read one single actual verifiable piece of evidence to show that.
So if she put her neck out there as a member of leadership and said what you just agreed with, and that made a controversy, then why does she have to pay the price of it of being removed as a leader?
Listen, I said this out here too, and I mean this. I mean, people are going to make it about Trump, but I would bet I'd bet every dollar I have in my pocket you can't name the last 3 Republican conference chairs. And I think that's just kind of, this has turned into it. Nobody ever asked Liz Cheney to get up every day and pledge allegiance to Donald Trump. But just as an example, when we were down at our retreat, somebody asked her why the president wasn't there. Well, the answer is because the president, current, sitting, former, anybody, never comes to these retreats. The answer isn't because I didn't invite him, and that was the answer that she gave. She made this binary. We legitimately have one position in the House where sometimes, I won't say what I said to the national media, but I'll tell you offline, you have to bite the bullet and deal with what your conference wants to do. And Liz has every right to every opinion she has. And I like her. I respect her. She doesn't have a right to lead a conference by making everything binary.
You know, you represent a state as its lone member in Congress. So does she. You represent a state that is heavy in energy interests. So does she. You represent a state that is transitioning and being forced to transition to alternative forms of energy. So is she. You know, will this make it hard for her in Wyoming, despite that Cheney name, despite that history? Do you think she'll find herself in a position in Wyoming with as popular as is President Trump to get reelected?
You know, I've seen some early numbers, and I think, yeah, I mean, it's going to make it difficult for her in a primary down there. I mean, so much of it depends. You know, they're a plurality state as well. How many people run in that primary, how they do all of those things. I will also say this: I wouldn't underestimate Liz Cheney. I mean, she's very talented. She's very a lot of things, but it was time for her not to be our conference chair anymore.
When you look at history, and this got brought up on my radio show, Congressman Margaret Chase Smith. You know, you're a pretty bright man. You always have been. And, of course, she was a congresswoman from Maine, and she was the first one to call out Joe McCarthy. And she was the one who said, basically, the emperor has no clothes on. She paid a price at the time, but she ended up, as history treated her, in a very good position. Do you think that, you know, in line with what you agreed with the election, do you think Liz Cheney ends up being looked upon as a leader for her time, as someone that could be president of the United States?
So, I mean, we'll see how all of that moves forward. I mean, she said today she's not interested in running or anytime soon, but, you know, all those answers are no's versus yeses versus later. We'll see how it goes. I wish Liz the best. I mean, when we can work on oil and gas issues, we can work on coal issues, all of those things. To be honest, I wish she talked a little bit more about those, because there's a lot going on in that field and not good right now since the new administration came on.
All right, well, let's do that now. And I appreciate how frank you were on those questions. Dakota Access Pipeline. You know, you and I both, from different sides of the aisle, have agreed when it comes to moving oil, moving product by pipeline. Where do you see Dakota Access Pipeline as it sits right now?
Well, I think the core in the last response, basically, I mean, they give that core answer, and I don't think it's so much a political answer as it is a bureaucratic answer. They're like, well, we have seen nothing that would make us not submit the EIS in favor of it, but we won't know until we know. So we'll see what the judge does, but the core has come out. We have 4 years of showing it's run safely. I don't know. It's a legal case, so I don't know the politics of Colonial, if that plays into it. I mean, people are humans, but we need the pipeline. We need it to transport the oil. Obviously, MHA and Chairman Fox has come out in favor of it. So we'll complete the EIS. I have no doubt that the EIS will be in favor of the Dakota Access, and we'll move forward. I think the real question is whether the judge will allow it to stay open while that's pending. You know, he's already ordered it to be closed once. So until we get that ruling, I'll be cautiously optimistic.
How do we get there? As somebody who built a lot of pipelines, and granted, I moved water through them and not oil through them. Once you got them built, once you got them being served, how do we get to the point? You talk about government bureaucracy, and you talk about all the hoops you got to jump through. How do we get to a point where we're even having that discussion?
I mean, that's part of the issue, right? Colin Peterson and I co-sponsored the FAST Act last year, and it's just to get the federal permitting done quicker, Joel, like in a reasonable amount of time. And I give Colin a lot of credit. He worked very well with our office. So here's the frustrating part. Now that he's not here, I can't find another Democrat co-sponsor the bill with me, because I know how this place works. I can drop the bill tomorrow and I can do a press release about it. But if I don't find some help on the other side of the aisle, we don't have any real answer of getting it passed through the House. And by the way, I bring this up in a lot of these hearings, is all the reasons to shut down, whether Keystone's unique because there's a presidential permit, but whether it's Dakota Access, Enbridge, all of that. You think it's hard to put a pipeline in the ground? Try putting high voltage lines through a community as we're trying to modernize and get our grid back together. These things are going to continue to come back. It costs a lot of money to put these projects in, and when you delay it by 10 years, and then after you get permitted, you get sued and sued and sued. Starving access to capital to this infrastructure is really, really concerning.
You know, it's frustrating for me too, and I'm more than frustrated that a Democrat won't join in with you, because it's a good piece of legislation to get on. There's a time when it's built and you use it, and the battle is over. And it seems to me that when it comes to Dakota Access Pipeline, that time has come. Want to talk to you a little bit about what happened in Southeast United States when it came to Colonial. How did we get to a point where somebody's paying ransom to move petroleum?
Well, I think cybersecurity is something. I mean, just pick your favorite like political fiction author anywhere in James Patterson, Michael Crichton, any of them, right? They've all written on this. Like, this is so fascinatingly unsurprising that it's almost shocking. And we're getting there. We need to deal with it. Obviously, we're going to get involved and figure out who it was. We know we're getting briefings. I haven't had a classified briefing yet, which is why I could talk about it. But this is serious, serious stuff. And it doesn't matter if you're anti-oil and you're pro-electric, because if you think hacking a pipeline is a big deal, wait till they hack a utility company. We have to absolutely engage in this. This is an area where I think both sides, I mean, there's been people on both sides calling attention to this. And then as a general body from both sides, I think we have very, very much fallen behind in how seriously to take this stuff.
All right, we've been agreeing too much.
Let's fight about something.
It's time to fight about something. Do you believe daycare is infrastructure?
No.
And why?
Well, because you don't get to put the word infrastructure behind everything. I think daycare is important. We dealt with this in the Bakken. I can tell you a lot of reasons at the federal level we should deal with this. I can tell you reasons at the local fire code level why we have problems with daycare and how we deal with those things. But when we're talking about infrastructure, particularly when you look at a country that used to do as much of this and was as good at it as anybody, our interstate highway system was as the shining, like, the example in the whole world, and over the last years we've fallen behind. I do think broadband is, and I think we have to have those conversations. I think we've proven reliable access to internet, whether you're in Reeder, North Dakota, or Detroit, Michigan, is really, really important in the 21st century education, 21st century economy. But no, I think we need to this infrastructure package as we move forward in order to get bipartisan support should stick to roads, bridges, broadband, traditional infrastructure.
Before I get to follow up on the daycare, I've got to ask you this. Do you ever brag to those members of Congress about what Broadband Association of North Dakota has done? I mean, we're ahead of them.
So here's what I get, and I do it in different things. Every time somebody has a rural broadband bill, they come talk to me because it's North Dakota. And I said, well, thanks, guys. And by the way, we have a couple places, South Central North Dakota, Fargo, actually, to some degree, our reservation communities. We still have work to do in North Dakota. But we have a really great story to tell on broadband, and I think people are really surprised when I push back on that.
I get to say this. Thank you, Byron Dorgan. I mean, he saw it ahead of time, and Senator Dorgan pushed for it and got the grant money to do it. I won't make you respond to that, but I was always very proud of his work there. Want to go back to daycare. In your state, the number one thing you need to build infrastructure, to get infrastructure done, is the ability to have daycare. We don't. In fact, I have two daughters working. If you ask them what one of the biggest issues they have of being in the workforce, it's daycare. So how can that not tie in together?
daycare, you can say daycare is an important issue. I agree it's an important issue. I just talked about the issues and the challenges we had with it. I mean, Watford City got into the daycare game in the middle of the oil boom. They have a tremendous facility. I don't think the city of Watford City, coming from as red a district and as red a state as we can find, would have done it unless it was a necessity. But saying it's important, saying it's something to move forward, and then calling it infrastructure are two different things.
But Congressman, Congressman, we're about to run over, but and I'll let you get the last word, I promise.
Oh,
but
that's fine.
If you ask Watford City whether or not that infrastructure, that piece would be good to get a grant from the federal government because it's the infrastructure they need, what do you think they'd say?
They would say they need daycare. I don't think they would say it's traditional infrastructure. I hope they wouldn't, because it's not traditional infrastructure. It's also, they would say all the money in the world doesn't solve the problem if we can't find somebody to work in there, and we can't lower the regulations and allow people to actually make money doing it.
Well, if they got to keep up the building and they can't get anything to start the building, they're not going to make money. But that's where we separate a little bit. Congressman, thank you. It's always fun to talk to you.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
When we come back, a couple of comments. Stick around. Also, Governor Burgum today as we go down the road.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay-Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing, because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark.
Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close.
Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention, have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
70%, that number always made me, well, smile. If you got 70% or higher, you got to be a person eligible to play football. That's right. That meant you were a C student, or at least it did in my school. 70% was the goal when it came to herd immunity. Now, I've struggled with, when we talk about herd immunity, that we don't add in those individuals that have had COVID-19. You know, and some are going to say we did. I'm going to argue that we didn't. But when you add in the number of people vaccinated, and in some cases that's and the number of people that have had the coronavirus, so I realize that's kind of tough to add up. But I think that number would get above 70%, at least in North Dakota, where we led the nation for quite a while in coronavirus. But the CDC, an organization that some would argue has given us messages that are like a windsock. One time they say this, the next time they say that, or we just don't even understand what they're telling us. Well, yesterday they came out. And what they did was they focused on masks, and they said, you don't got to wear them. And they didn't say you don't have to wear them, period. I know that don't scream at your TV. What they said was that if you're outside, you don't have to wear them at all. What they said was if you're inside and you are around a bunch of people that are vaccinated and you're in small groups, you don't have to wear them. Now, they talked about concerts and things like that. I'm sure they're going to talk about football games as well. But they're not going to wear them. I've been telling you into this camera since I sat down that come Memorial Day, which is, a couple weeks away? Come Memorial Day, this horse is out of the barn. It's done. And so they talked about the 4th of July. They talked about throwing away the masks by the 4th of July. And people aren't going to wait. And after the CDC came out with that statement, they're not waiting at all. Let me give you an example. I have the privilege of managing a number of individuals in the radio business and in different categories. I realize that. They have been itching to not wear masks in the hallways and when they get into rooms together. And what they're going to do now, they're going to take them off. The company's saying, go ahead and take them off. They don't feel they have a sense of liability. So I went around, you don't get to know or you don't get to ask as management, have you been vaccinated? You don't get to do that. What you find is that people come to you with the have you been vaccinated? Or you sit down and have a conversation philosophically about vaccination. I had a young man working with me who was just incredibly passionate against vaccination. So we sat there, we talked, we bounced by each other, and he made a reasonable argument, a very reasonable argument, and one that I disagreed with, but one worth listening to. It also was my right, if he's going to say that, to ask him whether or not he's being a hypocrite by being vaccinated. So he did. And I did. And the next thing you found out was he told me. Now, I probably said that wrong. He told me that he didn't get vaccinated and never plans on getting vaccinated. So, the business that you're in, if you've got people that haven't gotten vaccinated and you're supposed to wear a mask when you've been vaccinated to protect those that haven't been vaccinated, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. You should get the benefit of not having to wear that mask, not having to social distance all the time, not being able to be around a group of 10 people in a meeting where you can actually have a meeting and not sit 20 feet apart, or in this case 10 feet apart or 6 feet. My point is this. You should get something for being vaccinated. You should. There should be some benefit to being vaccinated. And if there's going to be some benefit for getting vaccinated, then there should still be an incentive for getting vaccinated. And I'm not talking about money, ladies and gentlemen. It will be put there by private business. It will. It'll be put there by private business. They'll be the ones that say, you know what? You chose not to get vaccinated. That's your choice as an American. I respect it. I appreciate it. But, now it's like anything. Nothing matters before the word but. Nothing matters before the word but. And so, but you're not going to get on the airplane. But you're not going to get to go into the baseball game. But, and you're saying, well, how do they know? How do they know? Well, again, most of us can take a picture on our phone, flash it. There's my vaccination card. There's my name. You can call them passports. You can call them anything you want, but you're going to see private businesses use them. And they're going to use them because you're a guest in their place. You're not going to see them use them in the workplace where you go to make your living, because in many ways that's your place as well. but you are going to see them use them in certain areas. And I think airplanes are probably the best example that I can possibly give. I cannot imagine the air industry sitting there and putting people in a situation where they're next to someone that hasn't been vaccinated. I just don't see that happening. When we come back, the governor of the great state of North Dakota, Governor Doug Burgum, right after this.
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
We're the ladies of Another View, bringing you a fresh view on local issues.
Thank you for your patience and understanding.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that the most condescending, rude email you've ever received?
Well, welcome to
National
the third
news.
term of a certain president. I really believe that.
And different perspectives you won't get on the mainstream media. Watch us weekday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time on Beck News and at beck.news.
Hey Bucks fans, if you're planning an outing, birthday, or employee appreciation night, then bring your group out to the Buck Stop for a night of fast-paced, high-scoring football. Your group will receive discounted tickets, options for reserved seating, scoreboard messages, VIP services, swag, and a space to gather during the game. You can also participate in pre-game ceremonies, halftime entertainment, in-game contests, and more. Call 701-595-0771 or visit bismarckbucks.com/tickets. All GA is first come, first serve. We'll see you on the turf. Go Bucks.
Good to have you going down the road with us. You know, yesterday I promised you Governor Doug Burgum. Today I've got him. How's that? I get a chance to visit with him. In fact, Governor's sitting right here. Governor, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Always great to be with you, Joel. Love your studio. It's fun to be here live. You and I have been talking on the air a bunch this last year, but great to be with you in person.
Now, I get to say this. You've always kept yourself in shape, but you seem like you lost weight because of the legislative session. Is it running around with your ears covered, or why do you look like, God, I'm glad it's over?
Well, there's some of that, but of course, I think we did share that I got a hip replacement about 6 weeks ago, and so I've been trying to make sure that I didn't go the wrong way on that. My clothes still fit, but the recovery's coming along great, and the legislature's over, and I'm super optimistic about the future of North Dakota, and both in ag and energy and everything else we got going on, and just more grateful than ever when I look at how North Dakota has come through this last 18 months compared to every other state. It leaves you with a good feeling.
Well, Ed Schaefer told me the best sight in the world was the taillights of legislators, so I'm just going to end it there. Want to throw this at you because I asked this question yesterday. You know, if you've been vaccinated, if you've done what Governor Burgum told you to do and others have encouraged you to do, And you're finding, as Amy Klobuchar texted out, she tweeted out yesterday that Minnesota is close to 70%.
Yep.
I know North Dakota's numbers aren't where you would like them to be, but at what point do those of us that have been vaccinated get to say, going about living our life? We're taking these masks off. We're going to do whatever we want to do. And if I got a family reunion of 150, which is what I've had at my place, we're going to hold it.
Well, I think the key thing as we wrap up here is that people just keep in mind that, COVID is not a disease that anybody wants to have. And there are people that might still be vulnerable and might be, young kids with immune system issues. So if you see somebody that's still wearing a mask, you probably want to have empathy that they're doing that for a reason. But I just came from the North Dakota Petroleum Council sponsored Williston Basin Conference. There was 2,700 people registered. And I think everybody there they were coming from Houston, they're coming from Denver, coming from Wyoming, coming from across North Dakota. Everybody's like, wow, we haven't been to a conference with real live people, breakouts, dinners, receptions, whole thing. And it was not only back to normal, but it was an energy conference, but the energy level was high because I think people are ready to get together. They're ready to shake hands with each other, look each other in the face, and get some business done.
Were you okay with that, with the Petroleum Council getting that many people in the same place?
Well, I think yes, and I think again we wish that we could see the vaccination numbers continue to climb. I mean, it'd be great to get towards that 70%. But in North Dakota, of course, we had a number of people that had COVID. So you got to take the people who've had the vaccine plus people who had COVID. We're probably close to community immunity. Numbers are dropping, and we're really looking to the future. Emergency's over, and so I think people just have to do what they have to do for themselves to be comfortable. But I'll tell you, for me, it was fantastic to be back shaking hands and back among people.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the legislative session. After they left town, you had to take a look at vetoing a couple bills. I'm going to mention one. You have been a supporter of NDSU all of your life. Obviously, Mom, and the role that your family has played at NDSU has been rock solid. There was an attack on NDSU, in my personal opinion. I'll use that word. You don't have to. But you had legislators, and I'm a firm believer in saying names. Yana Myrdal went after NDSU and its research, and she tied it to her personal philosophy. When she did that, she went after research and money that NDSU can bring in by challenge grant. And she tried to make those professors that would do that criminals. You vetoed whether or not they could be criminals, but you didn't veto the part of the bill where they would be able to attain that money and do the research. So how do you weigh those two?
Well, I'll try to provide a little clarity there because there was a lot of confusion. There has been on the books since 2011, 2013, clear language in policy for universities in terms of where legislative intent in terms of where they drive their research dollars. And the portion of the bill that I signed clarified which had already been in law. The part that I vetoed was actually, as you say, but it wasn't. The penalty wasn't tied to the challenge grants. The penalty was tied to the whole budget. This was 2.5% of the budget. I mean, for a Lake Region or a Dickinson, this might have been, for the 9 smaller schools, it would have been 15% of their budget was the penalty. And the criminal charges, again, I'm sure would have been challenged, but that seemed inappropriate because it wasn't even, there was no prosecutorial choice. I mean, it actually said in the legislation, state's attorney shall prosecute.
Yep.
And so, I think that kind of directive, overstepped. And so so I vetoed the penalty, vetoed the criminal charge, but retained the part that the legislature's been clear on for almost a decade in terms of where they want to see our university system investing their research dollars. So it will see. It looks like I read recently that the Senate does not plan to come back to challenge that veto. So we'll, I guess, again, move forward. We did preserve all of the challenge grant money, which has been one of the great programs, and that primarily goes to Kids for Scholarships. And this was, over $11 million that needs to be matched with $2 of private sector money, and that goes to all the universities, not just NDSU, but it would have, tying it to that, would have cost all the universities close to $33 million in funds that go to scholarships. So it really, in retrospect, in my mind, should have been two separate bills as opposed to one. And because it was two wrapped into one, it created a lot of confusion.
But that wasn't her goal. I mean, her goal, what she had as a deer in her sights on opening day was the fact that somebody was studying how to reduce teenage pregnancies. And some of the research that individual went to find was from an organization that she didn't like. And so I have to ask the question this way then, because you are such a good supporter of NDSU. Doesn't that hurt our reputation as a state for independent research and NDSU being one of the top research facilities in the nation when legislation like that is allowed to go forward?
Well, I think I was clear on that point too. A paragraph in the veto message which said, we risk hundreds of millions of dollars of research dollars. We risk recruiting great researchers to North Dakota. I mean, the researcher, the principal investigator you're referring to, she was a North Dakotan who left, got her PhD at the University of Minnesota and came back because she saw between 2000 and 2010 that North Dakota was one of only a couple states that hadn't seen a drop in teenage pregnancies. I mean, I think she's, trying to solve the problem that maybe everybody else is. And so, those are people that we would want to have back in our state, trying to help make our state better. And so, I think I was clear on that. And hopefully by eliminating the penalties and eliminating the criminal charges, we can, continue to be a place where we can attract and retain great researchers.
Governor, your goal when you ran and the legislature's goal for a long time has been to reduce that state budget. It hasn't reduced. There hasn't been any major cuts to the state budget. In fact, it's grown. How do you answer that?
Well, I think the key we have to look at, particularly this year, is general fund versus the overall. And this from being a legislature, you've got the general fund, you've got special funds, which is like Game and Fish. They charge for hunting and fishing licenses, and so they can fund themselves plus some. Then you've got the federal component. The federal component in the last year through COVID, that portion has grown like we've never seen, and that some of that was changing our reimbursement rates on Medicare, Medicaid. Some of it was the stimulus spending, but there's about $2 billion in this budget that came specifically that are COVID related. If you take a look at the general fund, when Brent Sanford and I took office and we said the budget's got to get smaller, the general fund was $6 billion. We cut it down to $4.3 billion the next session. It grew slightly the last session, and then grew slightly again. It's still below $5 billion right now, and so the budget the general fund is $1 billion less than we took office. We recommended a flat general fund, no increase in ongoing spending. In our budget that we put out, the legislature has got that bumped up by a couple percent over the next biennium. So a slight increase in the general fund, but for the most part, in our recommended budgets, and the legislature has really followed those closely as we've really kept general funding in check. And I say it's $1 billion below where it was before. But this year with the federal funding, that total number that people like to write out is going to be higher because of that one-time federal stimulus.
Governor, you attended Joe Biden's inaugural.
Yes.
As the governor of the state of North Dakota, in my opinion, should. And you accepted the results of the election, as I remember you making that statement. Liz Cheney made some statements that I found to be true. I have to ask you, if you were Congressman Doug Burgum, would you have voted to remove her?
Well, thankfully, as you know, I never wanted to be a congressman or a senator because those are legislative and very partisan roles, and I ran with the idea that I wanted to be an elected leader, and elected leaders I got to make tough calls every day as an elected leader, but don't have to fall into some of the partisan things that others do. So I think there's been a lot of noise and distraction around COVID, but my focus right now is on trying to drive our economy forward. And this week, fantastic news on the $350 million soybean processing plant, which we've been working on for 3 years to get that coming into Jamestown. We got more news in the weeks ahead related to value-added energy, and that's where I'm putting all my energy.
If I wouldn't have asked you, you'd have been disappointed. Admit
yes.
that.
Yes.
I don't blame you one bit for the way you answered. I do have to ask you this question, though, this way, okay? Because I think this one you can't answer, which is, and it eases people, and to me, lets them move on. It's one thing to accept the results of an election. It's another whether or not you believe it was stolen. And so the last part is my question of you. Do you believe the election was stolen?
Well, I can only speak for North Dakota, which is I know that we've got free and fair elections here. I know that the people that are eligible to vote in North Dakota, we want every one of their votes to count. And people that don't live here and not eligible, we want to make sure their votes don't count. And I think that's a responsibility at the state level, and I can't speak for other states. And
Governor,
and I'm just saying. Every governor and every county official should be trying to pursue the same thing because.
But 60 lawsuits and how many recounts? It seems to me that we're not going to get behind this until people admit, like Liz Cheney did, that it wasn't stolen. I mean, are you comfortable saying that?
Well, I'm comfortable saying what I said, which is that I think that we got to make sure. I do have some concerns about mail-out ballots as opposed to mail-in ballots because I've got personal experiences where people that live in states where they were, mailing out ballots, and I've got friends that got 2 or 3 ballots. I think there's, when there's that number of ballots floating around, there's an opportunity for election mischief. And so I'm not saying it changed any results, but I'm just saying that's something that I would want to be very cautious about. But, absentee ballots, we got 23 counties. That's all they've been doing for decades is mail-in ballots. It's smart, it's convenient, it's verifiable, and we have good elections. But I think we have, all of us in both parties need to care about election integrity, and whether it's 1960 with Kennedy versus Nixon or 2000 with Bush versus Gore or this election, it keeps coming up in our democracy, and we will lose our ability to compete against other nations that don't have to worry about democracy, aka like a China, where you've got basically one-party rule and dictatorships. They love it when we're battling over whether our democracy works or not. And so we've got to figure out a way. I mean, it's in the benefit to every American for us to make sure that we've got election integrity, that we can focus on policy and our own competitiveness and not be looking in the rearview mirror wondering about last year's election. I mean, that's part of the road to decline, and I see America as on a path to a great future, but we got to make sure that those everybody can believe in the results.
Governor, you always know that whether you're on radio, whether you're on TV, it isn't going to be all hugs and kisses. So I appreciate you always.
Well, I know that, and I respect that. Of course, Joel, and always good to be with you. And as I've said over the air, but I want to thank you in terms of everything you've done. I mean, having the news media get real information out to the people in North Dakota during this pandemic emergency, during this economic collapse, during the wildfire season we're having now, where we've had 80,000 acres burn already in the state. That's, more than 10 times than we did last year already. The drought that we're having in the part of the state, but you're getting real information out to people, and that matters a lot, and we're grateful.
Thank you, Governor Burgum. Appreciate it. Folks, when we come back, we're going to go a little bit longer, so stick around.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Pack the house in honor of North Dakota's heroes with Bucks Football Saturday, May 15th, as the Bucks go to battle against the Green Bay Blizzard. Help us honor Gold Star families, wounded warriors, and veterans alike. All veterans and family general admission tickets are free with military ID. Call 701-595-0771 for tickets and more information.
You know, many times I've pointed out to anyone that listens that I'm not a journalist. It's my job to give opinions. It's my job to get conversation going. It's my job to be that table at the cafe that everybody's eavesdropping on and wants to sit at because they're either laughing so loud or they're fighting. Well, fighting's too strong. Having a good, honest debate. It's my job to be doing that same thing at night, whether it be at the VFW hall or whether it be at Robin's Nest in Hankinson, North Dakota. What I do know is this: it's fun, and that nobody has to enter into the debate if they don't want. So let me bring a debate to you. Let me bring a conversation topic to you. It involves good, old-fashioned journalism. The Associated Press in North Dakota did a piece based upon the fact that there's a number of office buildings in North Dakota per rent that are being rented out by the state at rates that you would never rent them out as, right? So here you sit. You got office buildings that you're renting out that you don't need. That's what this is all about. Now you can say, well, that's a direct result of COVID. Okay. Did anybody take a look at that when it came to this legislative session? Governor Burgum, who you heard from earlier, I thought was really onto something. And I think that the perfect example I can give is higher education. Governor Burgum said that the model for higher education, and he told me this a couple years ago when I was trying to get him to run for governor as an independent. Obviously, I wasn't successful, but it was clear that Governor Burgum wanted to run for governor, and it was clear that he was going to bring some money to the table and some ideas to the table, and he won. But he won as a Republican. I'm a Democrat. But Governor Burgum then, in his campaign, said that the model for higher education is going to change. People are going to distance learn. That's right. They're going to do this over the internet. And so what happened? That's exactly what happened. You can say again, that's because of COVID. It doesn't matter. You can say that the horse and buggy went away because of the car. It doesn't matter. The car is here. And you know what? Distance learning is here. The same thing in the workplace. The same thing with these office structures that the state of North Dakota is leasing. And what you're finding out as managers is who really works hard from a distance and who doesn't. It's not built for everyone. It's not. But it also tells you something about their work ethic. I think my wife puts in more hours now than she ever did, and she was putting in a lot of them when she's driving to Fargo for work every day. Now she works from home. Every time I go home, she's working. Every time I leave home, she's still working. So I think there's that type of workers out there. If you are her employer, why in the world would you rent office space for her to be in? Right? Well, in the state of North Dakota, are they going to have the ability to look at these leases and say, no. We can save money as a state if we just get rid of this. It's going to be harder. It's going to be harder in the state of North Dakota. And you know why it's going to be harder? Because of the people that own the buildings. Now, I don't blame an independent business for offering a building up for lease to the state of North Dakota and North Dakota leasing it. I don't blame them. What I do blame is when that same thing happens and it's done in a way where all the rules are put in, and you might be a legislator that puts yourself in a position where your building gets leased. Now that's wrong. That's a conflict of interest. And the same can be said, and I'm just going to say the name. He can argue with me all he wants. Todd Porter from Mandan, if you want to come on this show and defend that and defend your policy when it comes to your other business, in regards to city-owned ambulances, for example, I'll have that debate with you. I'll have that debate. But carving out a niche of tax breaks, of Renaissance breaks, of making sure that buildings are put in a position where higher education and other state agencies really have no choice but to lease them, that's wrong. That's wrong. And now, because of that good old-fashioned reporting, the people of North Dakota are going to know more about it. Problem is, the legislative session got over. And so you as taxpayers are going to have to remember the work of the Associated Press. You as taxpayers should be dialing 328-2200 and talking to Doug Burgum and his staff and saying, Governor, can't we save some money here? We shouldn't be renting space in an office that's empty. I think we all can agree on that. I'll have some closing comments for you as we close out our trip down the road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree dental card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree dental card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree dental card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree dental card, you save $525. The Carefree dental card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree dental card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Elmiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Well, we're almost there on this trip together down the road, but you're headed into a weekend, aren't you? And, you know, we don't get many weekends here that involve sun and the sun being out and late days. Now, obviously, we don't have all the same weather. I get that. Last night in my home area, at the risk of getting in trouble with you, we got 0.4 of an inch of rain. I have a farm and ranch director that I get a chance to visit with on my radio show that lives in the Medina area, and she got some rain last night. So she had a smile in her voice as we had a discussion today. So hopefully you got some. I know how desperately it's needed. I was joking with my friend in the Great Bend area. He and I, well, we grew up together. But he plants a lot of sweet corn just for the fun of it. He gives sweet corn to a lot of people and, you know, just has a blast with it. But now let me throw this at you. Tries to hide it. He does. He tries to hide his sweet corn. All it takes is one drive around with my Jeep. I know where his land is, and I know where his sweet corn ends up being. And then he concedes, and he knows I'm probably going to go out there and find some sweet corn and send him pictures of it. See, I don't think it's stealing if you tell him and then you show him. I don't know what you think, but I do know where his sweet corn patch is again this year. Sent me a picture this morning. It's up. It's up. Now, I realize I'm jumping ahead to, you know, that 4th of July or actually, you know, August kind of time period, but doesn't change the fact that it's up. And it puts a smile on your face because you know you're getting closer to the time of year when you can absolutely smile with the tradition of getting sweet corn. We don't have it yet. I get that. The other thing I will tell you is with this weekend, get out there. Minnesota has their fishing opener this weekend, and I was teasing them today, which is our fishing season's open all year long. In other words, we won. If you like to fish, get out there. If you like to work in your yard, get out there. If you like to golf, get out there. But you know what? The key to all of it is get out there. I can vouch for this and let you know that absolutely, positively, I'm going to get out there. Unless my wife makes me paint, and makes being the key word there, because that might just happen. You know, I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the congressman for sharing some time with us as we went down the road here. Hope to see you next week. Till then, good riding with you.